You agree that it's a basic human right to be able to decide what you do with your body,
Absolutely.
right? But it does take two people to make a baby, obviously.
Absolutely.
Now, in the event that a woman doesn't want to have an abortion, but the man does, you think he should still be legally obligated to support the child and the mother financially?
I mean, if he doesn't want to have a child, he needs to do everything not to impregnate a woman first and foremost. Protect yourself. And in the event that an accident happens, and I mean, I don't know, that's not for me to say. I'm not in that situation. You know what I mean? That's a tricky one. I think everybody should certainly have a say, but if you, it takes two to make that child, so yes, both of them need to be taking care of the child, period, regardless.
So let me ask you this then, because you believe my body, my choice. It's like important to protect that woman's right. Now, in the same situation, let's imagine that a woman doesn't want to get an abortion, but the father of that child does. Do you think he should have any legal right to opt out of fatherhood and the financial responsibility?
His right to opt out of fatherhood happened when he climbed on top of her, and he should have opted out of that act. And by not opting out of that act, he opted in, so he can no longer opt out.
You know what he signed up for.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though. Like, people know what they sign up for and then have no education around like safe sex and all sorts of things, and like protecting themselves, and like vasectomies aren't free and they should be, and like IUDs should be free and available. And so like that education needs to happen so much earlier. And so it's unfortunate that like a guy doesn't know until he's already opted in, and then he has that financial responsibility. But nope, he's opted in already.
But if we reverse it, wouldn't you say that at that same moment of conception that the woman also opted in, so therefore she shouldn't be able to get an abortion?
If it was like, at that point, if both subjects were removed and it was grown in a third-party test tube and the woman didn't have her body involved in it, yeah. But like, she's growing that inside of her, and it's like one of the leading causes of death in women in my age range is like when they give birth. So like, she's got a bit more skin in the game, and like it's a parasite essentially that she's choosing to keep inside of her. So like, she gets more say.
So it's really not even about the abortion itself, it's the fact that it's her body and therefore she has the final say under pretty much any circumstances.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because you think that it's definitely a woman's choice to do whatever she wants with her body under any circumstances, right?
Yeah, it's her body.
Right, sure.
Right.
But let me ask you this, in the event that a woman does not want to have an abortion, she wants to have the baby, but the father of that child does not, should he still be legally obligated to take care of the baby financially and things of that nature, or should he have the legal right to opt out of fatherhood, let's say?
I mean, it takes two parties to conceive. I think it's absolutely should have some sort of role in providing for that child. I mean, you created it, so yeah, I think it falls on both parties for sure.
So let's flip the situation and imagine that he does want to have the baby and she doesn't. Should she be obligated to have the baby at that point?
Now you've got me twisting my words. That's a really tough question. Should she be obligated to have it? No, I mean, it's very hard, I think, as a male to relate what the child rearing experience is like, especially if it's, I mean, there could be, circumstances where like it could be put her life in danger, and if that was the situation, then absolutely she shouldn't have to. Now if it's like could be a healthy pregnancy and like she could carry and everything will be fine, it's still, I mean, in my opinion, it's her decision, because I mean, she's the one putting her body through that 9 months. So I don't know, it's a good question. I haven't really thought a lot about that, but this is just off the cuff,
sure,
what I think. So
of course, let's imagine that legally it is her body, her choice. In the event that she does not want to have the abortion but the father does, do you think he should have any legal right to kind of check out or opt out of fatherhood and not be financially responsible for the baby and the mother?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Gosh.
Let's imagine the flip side. Let's imagine that she wants to have an abortion and he doesn't.
Okay.
She can have that, or she can decide not to have that baby, and there's really nothing he can do about it because it's her body. That's the way it's understood, or that's the way I understand it. So the flip side, if she doesn't want to have it and he does, why is he obligated to then pay for 18 years at least to support that baby financially? What do you think about that?
Gosh. Yeah. See, I mean, I guess that kind of goes back to, should she be allowed to have that choice, to have an abortion? I think if the father is there through the whole pregnancy and wants to have this baby, like, it's just as much his as it is hers, And again, like, obviously the baby can't make its decision on its own, like, it's just a fetus. So, like, I don't know. Again, I think just going back to the sanctity of life, like, my gut reaction is to say the woman should have the baby, especially if the father is showing that much commitment and is going to be there and wants to have the baby because it is his child. And they would somehow need to make that decision together. I don't know if necessarily the government needs to be involved. Like, I don't even know how to begin to navigate that. And again, it's just another thing, is figuring out what the role is of the church, like what my role would be, and then also what the role of our authorities and our leaders should be.
So let me give you an actual situation. Let's imagine that it's you and your girlfriend, for example, and you guys aren't trying to have a kid. It's an accident. She gets pregnant.
Yeah.
If you want to have the kid and she doesn't, she has every right to have an abortion. You really have no say over that.
Right.
So now if we switch it and you don't want to have the kid and she does, she still has the right to have that kid. So should you still be obligated to be financially responsible for the baby or no?
I think it would be morally right because you did engage and you were aware of the consequences.
Right.
I guess in your case, if you didn't want to have it, it's a consequence of having a kid. So I think you should be morally obligated to take care of it. But again, that's something to discuss with the partner. If you really can't see it working out as a parent, like, maybe it's better to, abort the child if the mom doesn't feel like she has a good, support system. I think it would be best for the child too. You don't want to put them in an environment where they feel like they're neglected.
Exactly.
Or a single parent home. That's not good for a child's development.
In the event that, let's say, the woman wants to have the baby and the man doesn't, he decides he doesn't want to be a father, do you think he should be legally obligated to be responsible financially for that baby? Or he should have the legal right to kind of opt out of fatherhood?
If he wants to have an abortion and she doesn't, he should have the legal right to opt out. Because, I mean, if she's going into it knowing that he doesn't want to be the father, then I think he should have the legal right to opt out.
In the event that a woman wants to have the baby, but the father doesn't, should he be legally obligated to financially support the child and be in that child's life and things like that? Or should he have the legal right to kind of opt out of the responsibilities of fatherhood at that point?
Well, I actually am a product of a single parent home where my dad was not present, so that's a tender space for me where I wish a dad, would have stepped up. So I think that, it takes two to tango, so you should be held accountable, yeah.
So now let's switch it a little bit and let's imagine that you want to have the baby and the mother of the child does not want to have the baby. Should she be obligated legally to then have the baby and be responsible as a mother?
That's interesting. I feel like, again, it's the woman is carrying the child, so I feel like, again, it goes to their 100%, in control of what they choose. But I don't know. I would hope that they could amicably make a decision. But if they didn't, I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know.
Let's imagine that a woman wants to have the baby, but the father of that child doesn't want to have the baby. He can't legally force her to get an abortion. So should he be legally obligated to be responsible for the child financially and all those things?
I think that's tricky. I really think it depends on the situation, because I think if you don't want a kid, I really honestly don't think you should be financially supportive of it. Like, honestly, even if you're the mom, say you just give that kid to the dad, you shouldn't have to pay child support.
Right.
If you're the dad, you don't want a kid, you shouldn't have to pay child support. But I think that's more of a question of, if you don't want to financially support that kid, you need to sign away all your rights.
So you're saying if you're not going to financially or even emotionally support that child, then you should have no rights to get access to that child. Is that it?
Yeah, definitely. And then you wouldn't have to give monetary support, which you can do that once your kid is born.
Can you really?
Yeah, it's like basically giving your kid up for adoption. You just sign away everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. But from a moral perspective, do you think that you have some responsibility when you lay down to make that child?
I think when you choose to have the kid, I think people have sex all the time and don't expect a kid.
Sure.
I think that saying if you don't want a kid, you should be abstinent, it's kind of stupid because people have sex all the time.
Right.
But I think you have a responsibility once you choose to say, I want to have this kid. That's when, okay, you're a parent.
So you saying if I want to have the baby and she don't want to have it, or she want to have the baby and I don't want to
Exactly.
have
If
it?
she wants to have the baby, but you're like, no, let's get an abortion, and she says no. Right now,
Man, that's a tough question.
you're legally obligated, right, for 18 years to take care of that kid. Do you think it should be that way or no?
I definitely, I was just talking to somebody about this. I definitely feel like if he clearly stated that he didn't want a child and the woman went through with it, and I mean, she's just gonna have to deal with them consequences because he might be a deadbeat, he might be just a motherfucker that don't want kids, and at the end of the day, it seemed like he not even around anyways. He don't have a father anyway. The kid won't have a father anyway if the person's a deadbeat. But yeah, that's a tough one because I mean, on one hand you lay it down with a person without protection and you know the possible outcomes.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's like I clearly stated that I don't want a child, and we have options to not go through with it. I'm on the fence on that one, man. I'm on the fence a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence about that one.
So let's flip the situation. Let's imagine that she doesn't want to have the baby and you do. Do you feel like you should have the legal right to make her have the baby at that point?
Nah, I mean, hell, nah, I think if she don't want to have the baby, that means she don't want to be with your ass. Cause if a girl gonna have that baby if she want to be with you. So, nah, I definitely feel like, I mean, if she is gonna have that baby, hell, he need to take care of her. Damn. So I kind of just contradicted myself in an instant. But, ooh,
It's complicated.
it's
right?
complicated. Cause a motherless child, that's tough too. That's damn near worse than a fatherless child. But yeah, nah, I'm on that. I'm on the fence about both of those questions. But I definitely feel as if you don't want the child, if the woman doesn't want the child, then shouldn't be no child. And shit, if the father don't want the child, I feel like you can't be mad at, you know that this person probably gonna be a deadbeat, he don't want the child, and now you know what situation you getting yourself into. You know you might be a single mom.
Right.
So, yeah.
Can you explain for anybody listening, what do you mean when you say deadbeat? What is that?
A deadbeat is not taking care of your responsibilities as a man. You know you got kids out here. Take care of your motherfucking kids. That's it. That's a deadbeat because shit. It's people I know growing up. I'm talking about older than me. I'm 25. It's grown men that's 30, 40, and they know they got kids, know they got responsibilities, and be like, don't go see their kids. And that's another thing. Like, it's another thing to not be financially stable, but at least being in your kid's life is the main thing. Like, the kid has to know, oh, that's my father. You gotta have time and you gotta show some experience and it goes to it. Being a deadbeat father it's a lot. It's more than just money. It's about actually being there and showing, especially if you have a young boy as a child, you got to show that child how to be a man. You got to show that little boy how to be a man.
Right.
And if you're not doing that, if you're not there to do that, then shit, your son might grow up and be just like you.